Oftentimes, we see attempts to divide fighting game characters into archetypes. This is done under the assumption that if we group characters into clear-cut categories, the game and its characters would make more sense, especially to a new player. In Guilty Gear, it's pretty hard to divide the characters into such categories, because each character feels like a unique mix of qualities that other characters also have. So, like a character sheet in Dungeons & Dragons, one character has 10 strength and 7 dexterity, while another character has 7 strength and 10 dexterity. However, there's one category that every other category seems to be balanced around, and that is effective range. We can divide the cast into 3 general groups: close range, long range, and medium range. We'll use +R as an example. The close range group shares similar benefits and flaws. For example, let's look at Potemkin, Slayer, Jam, and Order Soul. All of these characters want to get close to the opponent, but have trouble doing so. Potemkin and Slayer due to limited mobility, and Jam and Order Soul due to short-ranged attacks. However, once they finally get in, they all have sticky block pressure in the form of moves that grant frame advantage and can often be used late in a chain. Alternatively, they make great use of jump cancels in pressure, either by having short jumps, or with moves that make them land quickly. Or they can maintain pressure with character-specific tools like Potemkin Hammerfall Cancel. In general, close-range characters also tend to have solid defensive tools, like a meterless reversal, fast normals for interruption, or a great backdash. Chip and Milia belong to a slightly different subcategory of close-range fighters. They still don't attack from afar, but they have tools that allow them to approach more easily in the form of mobility and some high-priority moves. They pay for these tools in other areas, like very low health and more limited block pressure. The long-range group includes characters who enact their game plan from afar. Space control in Guilty Gear can be divided into 2 types, committal and non-committal. A normal, or a long-range beam, would be the former type, while a projectile that is active while you can move freely is the latter. Non-committal space control opens up powerful situations when you can set it up. You can either control a different area, or you can commit to the same front and use the projectile to cover your approach, or fill the gaps in your offense. In general, long-range characters really need their projectile support in order to shine on offense, while the close-range specialists do not. At least a third of the cast can be considered long-range, but there's a lot of nuance when it comes to the effectiveness of committal versus non-committal space control they have. Faust has amazing committal space control in the form of his normals and full-screen specials, but his non-committal space control comes in the form of random items. Venom's normals, on the other hand, while still good, are less threatening than Faust's, but Venom compensates by having much better and more reliable non-committal space control in the form of the pool balls he sets up. Axel is the king of long-range committal space control, but he has no non-committal space control, and suffers from limited offensive qualities like block pressure and mix-ups as a result. The long-range characters are also differentiated in the areas on screen they control best. In the air, Venom easily covers the angles below him, with both normals and pool ball angles, but he's bad at covering the upper areas of the screen and the area directly in front of him. Faust, by comparison, easily stabs you horizontally in the air, but doesn't have great ways to attack downwards. Despite the differences between them, the long-range characters often lack good defensive tools, and if they happen to have good mobility, they heavily pay for it in other areas. The last group is medium range. They can't do anything threatening from afar, but many of their tools are unfit for point-blank use either. On the other hand, they often have great medium-range options, and can convert from them nicely on hit. Let's take Soul, for example. 2 of his best tools are Far S and Gunflame. Both of them are at their best when used at about round start distance. Kai's Stun Dipper doesn't work at all up close, but is stellar at converting mid-range hits into a knockdown. Anji's normals have nice range and the ability to convert from far hits, and his H Fujin is a good threat when used at mid-range, where it can go through ranged moves which have slow recovery on whiff. Baiken? Look at every S normal she has, her 2D, and at her tatami. Mei? You must respect her 5k far S chain. Johnny. This whole character is about great mid-range moves and the ability to convert off of them. Within this group, the differences between characters are created by borrowing a unique mix of strengths and weaknesses from the other two groups. So Kai can somewhat harass you with fireballs from across the screen, while Sol has a strong command grab up close. While there are some similarities between the characters of each group, in order to see the big picture, one must look at the complete list of each character's pros and cons, including which areas of the playfield they control well and which areas they don't. This gets more complicated as characters change their strategies based on the matchup. In one matchup, Eddie tries to keep the opponent away, and in another, he's the one trying to close the gap. But massive variety in unique matchup situations and interactions is what has made the Guilty Gear series interesting for many, many years. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
何が出るかな